Hi, my name is Michelle Seigling. I'm your Integrated Technology Specialist, and I'm here today to give you an example of a workstation setup that might work for you in your classroom. We did create this setup primarily for secondary classrooms. However, elementary teachers can benefit from the information we're sharing here today, depending on how you deliver your instruction. So definitely tune in. As you can see, I have a lot going on at my teacher workstation here. So I just want to walk through each piece with you. The first thing is I have my teacher computer here, my teacher workstation. And I have the screen set up such that I'm the only person who can see what's on this screen right now. And currently I'm just looking at my Schoology homepage, but it can be whatever you need. But this is your private display that will be just for you. I'm going to start with my computer. With my computer right now, I have a screen that only I can see. And as you can see, I also have a second monitor set up here. And the second monitor is acting as an extension of my screen. It's almost, you can almost imagine this wrapping around to make one big screen. They're just not attached to each other. And on the extension of my screen right now is the stuff that I want students to see. Now, the same signal that's being fed to this second monitor is also being fed to my classroom projector. So what appears on my second monitor will also appear through my projector. Either they'll be connected either by using a splitter on the back of your display, or they'll connect using a hub. And we can work with you, or you can work with your site tech person to get that situated the way that will work the best for you. The last thing I have set up here is I have my document camera. In this case, I have a Como camera, which I know many of you have. If you don't have this exact model, this will work with other models. But I have it connected directly to a Chromebook, and the Chromebook is signed in to my same Google Meet as my teacher computer is. I'm signed in as myself on both, but this one I set the camera to actually be the document camera instead of the webcam that's on the front. Now what that gives me the option of doing is using this second version of myself. I'm being a co-host to myself in this case. And what that gives me the opportunity to do is share my screen from here, go into present mode to present student work if I'd like, or a website that you want them to see, and you can just present that screen, or you can present something under the document camera from here. It gives you a lot of flexibility as a second co-host. The other advantage of having yourself signed in to a second device as yourself on a Google Meet or a Zoom is that if you lose connectivity on one of your devices, you're still on the call on another device. So you don't lose your hosting abilities during a Meet session or a Zoom session with your class. For the purposes of this demonstration, I am using my work computer, which is a Mac. However, what we're displaying here can be done with a PC, a Chromebook, or a Mac. Whatever device you have, this system will be compatible with. Currently, I have my Polycom studio camera set up to face my whiteboard so that my at-home students will get the same view on the whiteboard as my in-person, in-class students are getting the live version of. And I have it set up right now so that it's tracking my speaking, my voice. So if I were to move around the room, it would follow me. Currently, I want it to stay focused on the board, so I'm going to, while I continue talking, it will stay focused where I am. So now, and you want to make sure that when you are using the Polycom Studio camera with your whiteboard that you're using a dark, bold color so that the students at home can really read what you're writing. If your markers start to fade, I know we try to get the most life out of them as possible, but for your students at home, make sure you're using a bold, bright, nicely inked dry erase pen so that they can see what you're trying to write. Connected to our teacher workstation is our classroom audio system, which includes our microphone, necklace microphone here, as well as the student handheld device, which you're welcome to share with your students so that they can communicate in class as long as you're following nurses' recommendations for safety and sanitization. Now, as long as you have adjusted on your audio interface the volume levels correctly, both your in-class students and your at-home students will be able to hear you because you're using this audio system. Additionally, once it's set up, if your students that are on your Google Meet or your Zoom are speaking, the students in class will also hear them through the classroom audio system, through the speakers in the ceiling. Now remember at the end of the day that it's really important that you plug in your devices and charge them so that they're ready for use the next day. You can do that with the necklace by setting it in its station here, and with the student microphone, you simply plug it in and make sure that it's powered off. When you're setting up in the morning, one of the things you might want to do is get a Chromebook set up with your document camera attached to it. In this instance, I am using a Como document camera, but this will work with any document camera. I've connected the document camera to the Chromebook, and I've started my Google Meet. The next thing I want to do is change my camera default on the Meet so that it's picking up the Como display. And to do that, I'm going to click on the three dots in the lower corner of my Google Meet. For Zoom, the settings are similar. Click on Settings, click on Video, and then right now it says Front Camera. I'm going to open that option, and my option says Como QPC22. Yours might say something similar. I'm going to select that. And now my display has changed so that I can see what's under the document camera instead of the front-facing web camera. Additionally, before you get started for the day, you want to make sure to hit mute on this version of the call, because the call is going to be on your other device as well, and they'll interfere with each other if the microphones are on with both calls. So you want to make sure that this device is totally silenced, and you'll do that by hitting mute. And additionally, you want to mute the speakers as well, which is usually a button on a Chromebook. It's usually a button on the top line. If you're connecting a second PC or a Mac, the process is the same. You'll still want to mute your mic and mute your speakers. If you want your students at home to see what's under your document camera, you want to encourage them to pin the window that has that view. So on my Google Meet, right here, I can see the window that has my document camera, and I'm just going to hover over it and press the little push pin button. And when I do, it makes the view large. Now on Chromebooks, the display is a little bit smaller, so if you really want to maximize that view on a Chromebook, you want to hover over the square in the upper right corner, and when you click that, it will give you a slightly larger display. If you're on a PC or a Mac, there are enlargement options. On a Mac, it's the green button in the upper left, and on a PC, it's the same. It's a square in the right. And you can encourage your students at home to do that as well in order to see it clearly. Now, even though I've pinned the display here so that I can see it enlarged, students at home will need to do the same. So you'll need to encourage them to do the same thing that I just did, which is hover over the window that shows the document camera display and press the pin button so that they can see it enlarged. If you want your in-classroom students to see your at-home students during a hybrid learning session, right now my Google Meet is on my personal screen that only I can see in my display setup. What you need to do is drag it to your second extended screen, to your extended screen, which is sharing the same view as your projector. What this does is gives your in-class students a view of your at-home students on the Google Meet session or Zoom session. And then I'm going to hover on that window and I'm going to pin it. And what that does is it puts it up on my, with my projector on my screen, nice and big for my in-classroom students. If you want to deliver digital content to all of your students, your in-person students, in-class students, and your at-home students, one way you can do this is by using the document camera and Chromebook setup over here as kind of your content delivery, your digital content delivery station. And to do that, you can have your tabs set up and ready to go with the digital content that you want your students to have access to. And when you're ready, you can simply click Present Now, click Tab first, and then choose the tab you want to share, and click the Share button. Now on this display, what you see is the content. What the students both in class and at home will see is what is being shown on your second display. Because my second monitor over here is being mirrored by the projector, what I see on this screen is what my students in class are seeing up on the screen from the projector. So for your in-class students, you want to hover over the presentation and click the pin button. And what that will do is it will get rid of the windows that show the students in the class and focus solely on content. Now, the students at home will still have the same view that they had before. You have to encourage them to click the same button, to hover over the presentation and click the pin button to enlarge the digital content so that it's more accessible to them. And from there, you can navigate the content on your Chromebook, and that display will translate over to your projector as well as to your students at home. Currently, I have the Polycom Studio camera tracking my voice as and it will follow my movement around the room as long as I'm speaking. If you're concerned that what you're writing on the board might be lost because you're not speaking, you always have the option on the remote control to turn off the motion tracking and just have a standard stationary camera shot. And that way, you don't have to worry about things going off the screen and your students not being able to see what you're writing or hear what you're talking about.
In addition to using the remote for the Polycom Studio camera system, you can also go into the settings for the camera and create a lot of presets, other adjustments, and layouts for how you want your camera to work. So feel free to explore those settings and find what works good for you.
There are many configurations you can think about using with your Polycom Studio camera in terms of capturing different views. In this situation, I have my Polycom Studio camera off to the side of my room and facing my students. And I did that so that it can capture a group conversation. Additionally, because of the way the lens is on the camera, it will actually capture part of the front of my room as well. So in this configuration, you'll catch a lot of the classroom activity by having it at the side of the room. Currently, I do have it turned on such that it would follow my voice and my movement around the room if I were talking. So you may want that on. If not, with your remote control, you can actually hit one of the buttons, and you can refer to the one sheet on the remote control. But there's a button with a square on it that if you click that, it will turn off the motion sensor and then just give a fisheye view of the room and capture the room very broadly. So that might be a better configuration when you're having group discussions so that the camera's not bouncing around too much and is just catching everyone all at once. Perfect. In this situation, I've moved my Polycom Studio camera to the front of my room because I want to have a whole class discussion that includes my in-class students and my at-home students. By moving it to the front of the room, I now have it pointed out to the audience, the crowd of students in the room, to give my at-home students the view. Additionally, I have my at-home students up on my display so that my in-class students can see them, so they can all simultaneously see each other. Now, with this view currently, you can see that one of the windows is of the actual Polycom Studio camera, which might become a problem, but it's very easy to turn that off on your Google Meet. If you hover over that actual window, there's a button that has 4 squares with a line through it, and you want to click that button. And what that does is it removes the host view from the Google Meet, and that way the in-class students can focus just on the at-home students on this view, and the students at home will still have that window on their view, and they can pin it or leave it as is if they want to see the other at-home students as well.